Hi,
Hi, Kripali.
how are you?
Very good, very good. So good to meet you. I mean, Shreya has been talking about you for a
Yes,
very long time.
I've
And
heard a lot about you from her, and she just keeps, I mean, she gets really excited when she talks about it. That's how it is. That's how all our calls and all our video calls have been now, and I'm so glad that you're around
yeah,
to
thank you.
mentor her.
You will just have to handhold me through this because this really is not my medium. And but just because you were coming in here, I said I can't miss the opportunity of talking with you. So here I am with you.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, lovely, lovely. Let me just give a very quick introduction to you, Kripali, for all the people who are joining us over here. Um, Kripali, that's you, is a freelance model, artist, and an active mental health activist. Your career in modeling took off at a very young age, and you model for designers like Sabyasachi, Meghna Goyal, Turani, and you've also worked with brands like Her Story, Myntra, Agio, and you're actually a very well-known face in most households. Wow, I am really impressed. Your introduction goes on. As an ardent believer of my body, my choice, especially when it comes to body and fashion standards, your elegance and zeal to succeed have helped you spread an empowering message of processing emotion and trauma as a survivor of child sexual abuse. More power to you. You are a stark reminder of the fact that fashion and beauty are all about being comfortable and confident. Wow. Very, very impressive, Kripali. And I'm really, really happy to have you here with us today. And I'm sorry, I'm getting all these instructions about how to hold the camera and everything. So excuse me about that. But Shreya has spoken to me about you a lot. So I feel I really know you very well. But why don't we get our viewers a chance to get to know you a little bit in your own words?
Uh, I go completely blank when someone asks me. It's just that I know myself, but then when there's like a question of just someone asking me about me, it's just very difficult to tell them because it's like mind
Okay,
going where.
let
But
me try and make it easier for you if you want. Yeah. So let me just kind of ask you, if I was to ask you to define yourself and say, Kripali, give me three words that really stand out for you when you think about yourself, how would you go about it?
independent,
Mm-hmm.
hardworking, and
Mm-hmm.
I hope I stand to whatever I'm saying about myself. But I think, yeah, if I have to say something about me in three words, I would it would be that. Yeah.
Independent, hardworking,
Kind.
and the third one would be
Kind.
kind. Lovely. What a lovely, lovely way to look at yourself because kindness is really what we need in today's world so much kindness and compassion. And usually, when we think of ourselves as survivors, those are the emotions or tenets that actually just disappear from our lives in many of the ways,
Yeah.
right? I'm very interested in knowing how is it that you journeyed from your experience to here, to who you are when you're talking of yourself in terms of kindness and compassion. So just a little more.
Ah, I think all these years I've always been independent because it all happened when I was when I was very, very, very young. So I tried reaching out for help, but then I couldn't get the right help. So at that age, to understand that and to realize that there isn't going to be anyone to help you out, you have to do your own thing. That's something which took a very long time to process and to settle down with that thought that you are
Mm-hmm.
doing it, you have to work on yourself. Nobody is gonna tell you what's wrong. Everyone just tells you the good things.
Mm-hmm.
want you to believe that there are only good things you have to focus on. But how many people would come and tell you that, listen, these are the few things which you need to take care of and probably better yourself on those? I don't think so. I had any, not, I don't think I had too many people tell me that. I had to process the whole thing by myself.
I'm very sorry to stop you for a minute. I'm getting a lot of messages which are saying
Oh,
that your voice is breaking. So if you can just hold your phone closer or your pad,
is,
iPad closer.
is it better?
Better for me, but let's just carry on and see if we get some more of these messages.
Uh, okay, anyways, I'm just gonna talk so that
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. Let's,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's a very rough journey to understand where I'm at and how I'm gonna go forward, and it's still a very rough journey because there have been too many. Can't hear you clearly. I think I'm just gonna hold my phone.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's better. But then
yeah,
it's gonna be shaking. But yeah, anyway, so
yeah.
as I was saying, it's still a very I have so many days where I just go back to the same uh thoughts that I had when I was a kid. I'm still scared. I wouldn't
Mm,
say that I'm strong because I cannot. No one can be strong. No one can be
no,
strong all the time. No
no.
matter how long ago something happened which has scarred you in some way or the other, no one can be strong. And I am okay to say that I'm scared because
Mm,
that's how I feel. That's how I've always felt.
yes,
Maybe I wouldn't talk about it much. Maybe I
yeah,
wouldn't be open about it, but then that doesn't stop me from feeling scared.
yes.
So it's been a rough journey. It still is a rough journey, but then I'm just trying to push myself forward. I think at the end of the day, you just have to push yourself forward and you have to just keep working on yourself because only you can do that. No one else is going to do that for you.
Very true. I mean, I kind of agree. I mean, you've said a lot of things in this very short piece that you just shared with us, where you said that you really had to do it on your own. You really didn't find anybody around you where you could talk about it. And that really is a fact, isn't it? You
Yeah.
know, when we really don't have a supportive community or somebody where we feel comfortable just reaching out or talking. So, can I just ask you a few questions?
Yes, please go ahead.
So you were a child at that point of time, and was there distance between your family and you, or was it that you were? I mean, what is it that held you back as a child to be able to speak about it?
Um, so um, I didn't really understand that all these years. Yeah, there have been so many times where I've asked myself, like, why didn't I just tell my mom or dad? Why didn't I tell my sister? I
Mm-hmm.
have an elder sister, and we are very close. She is everything to me, and I always tell her everything. But when it came to talking about this, it was always like something was holding me back.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't talk to her about this. And all these years, I was just thinking about why did I not speak about this with anyone? And then I think this happened last month where I finally realized why I didn't do this. Was I couldn't sleep and I was watching this documentary. And that documentary was about how uh, the victims have been manipulated in thinking that whatever is happening to them is normal. It happens in every household. It's just that you don't talk about it. And after watching that, it just hit me. It just hit me so hard. And I couldn't, I wasn't able to breathe because I cried a lot. I cried a lot and I was shaking. I couldn't believe that that's how. That's how I was thinking all these years. I thought it's normal to happen. Just because he didn't physically hurt me, he didn't threaten me that he's gonna kill me, or if I talk about it, um, it would be the end of everything. He didn't tell me anything. It was a silent torture, which I couldn't understand when I was a kid. And I think that torture went on for a year by multiple men. And after a point, I just thought that, okay, fine, maybe this is normal. Maybe it happens with everyone. And after a point, I started blaming myself. And before blaming myself, I think I started blaming myself after a few years, as I grew. I think from 15 to 16-year old, I started blaming myself. But then before that, I used to think that it happened because maybe somewhere I was enjoying it. I wanted it. And all these confusions, thinking that I was enjoying it, thinking that I asked for it, thinking that it's normal. These three things just combined together after watching that documentary. It all just hit me. And 22 years, 23 years of thinking that it's all okay, it's all normal, and then realizing that it's not. I'm still shaking because it is something which not just me but many people are going through, thinking that it's normal, thinking that they are asking for it, thinking that they are enjoying it, because that's one way of getting manipulated by the predator.
Absolutely.
And that was just, I still have sleepless nights. I get nightmares where I can see their faces, because it's very difficult. And
I know.
I know for a fact, no matter how independent I become, no matter how much hard work I do, no matter how kind I am to myself and to people around me, maybe like 30 years from now, I'm still gonna be struggling to sleep. I'm still gonna be having those faces just appear right in front of me, and I'm still gonna be scared, because this is not something which you can leave behind so easily. It takes years and years and years of practice, and even after so many years, you cannot guarantee that you're okay. You cannot guarantee that you're past that phase. You cannot guarantee that, okay, I'm strong enough, this is not gonna bother me anymore. It just doesn't happen that way.
Big hug to you, Kripali.
Thank
And
you.
I cannot even begin to say the service, the benefit that you're doing, because you know what the stats are in our country. We are talking about 1 out of 2 children over here who are going through experiences of child sexual abuse. And most of them are silent because of these things that you've just highlighted, you know. And it's going to give so much strength to so many people who are going to be listening to this, who are adults maybe now, but who are still children, who are teenagers, to know that they are not to blame, that it is not their fault, that it is not normal, you know. And just this whole thing, this thought that we have that maybe I enjoyed it, but that's just because I'm not my genitalia. Human bodies just like to be stroked and touched and hugged. And to put this burden on a child to know that you're supposed to know that this is not right or this is wrong, that cognizance is not there at that point. We get to know it as, like you said, you realized it when you were about 15 or 16, right? And then that's the time entire understanding of the world that you have or sexuality that you have is coming to bear upon you to say, oh my God, I was the one who did it wrong. I was the one who kind of, and you're still facing it. I mean, and I also want to really applaud you because it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to understand that you don't have to move on. You have to learn and arrive at a point when you're able to manage what has happened with you and not let it spill over into your everyday life decisions, But just to say, oh my God, I'm going to be happy from now and I'm expected to be happy from now is a myth, right? And so really more power to you. And I really want to applaud you for your openness and your vulnerability and accepting it, because that is going to give so much strength to so many people who are going to be listening to you today. Honestly.
Thank thank you.
Can I continue to ask you some more questions around
Yes,
this?
yes, please.
How would you like to say that this experience, I mean, I understand it, but I just like to hear it from you. How do you think it has impacted you in your life situations as an adult, or as in your growing up phases? It could be in terms of decisions that you have taken. It could be in terms of your own sense of body. It could be in terms of trust issues or relationships. I don't know. I mean, I just like to understand from you.
I had, I wasn't, I think as a teenager, I wasn't okay with my body. I hated it. I I didn't like myself. I didn't like anything about myself. And that used to I mean, I had too many people around me, and all my friends back in school, they were very beautiful, both guys and girls. And I always used to think that how on earth do they have so much confidence to pull them off and just be themselves? Because I wasn't a silent kid. I was an average student academically, but then I would want to be friends with everyone, because there was a void in me that, yes, I have my sister back home, but then that was a phase where we didn't know what to talk to each other. It was an awkward phase between siblings. And yeah, after whatever happened when I was a kid, I think I stopped talking and sharing with my mom and dad. So to fill that void, which I couldn't get rid of, I wanted to be friends with everyone. I used to talk with everyone. I was very socializing that time. Everyone knew me in school. I was pretty popular back then. But then, I mean, they used to think that, yeah, I was popular. Everyone used to think that I'm pretty. But then I couldn't see what they are seeing in me. And that used to just piss me off. Like, what are you seeing in me? What is it? Just like, tell me. There have been so many times where I just stood in front of the mirror and I would be like, I'm too skinny, because I was very skinny. I mean, even though people told me that I look pretty, there were so many people who used to body shame me a lot because I was very skinny. And that's something which still happens. And that's horrible. That's horrible. People only focus on fat shaming. They think that only that happens, but then they have no idea how many people out there are skinny shamed. And it just, it's not our fault. We eat a lot. We are not anorexic. We eat a lot and we are not sick. We are not weak. It's just that we have high metabolism and we can't really do anything about it. So body shaming had happened. And yeah, there were so many times I would be standing in front of the mirror just looking at myself like, why is my hair like this? Why is my face like this? Why do I have such a small face with such big eyes? Why am I skinny? Why am I short? Why am I tiny? And everyone else used to think that, she's just dancing. She's just like having fun in her room, locking herself in. But then that's not what I'm doing. I've been degrading myself so much. And then I think after a point, I was like, hold on. Why am I doing this? What is the purpose? Why am I not letting myself be happy about myself? Because if I'm not happy with myself, I wouldn't let anyone else be happy with me.
Yeah.
Be it my friends or any kind of relationship.
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, listen, Kripali, hold up. You are doing something wrong. That's when the whole process started. I think I was in 11th. Yes, I was in 11th. And I was like, listen, I think you have beautiful hair. Just embrace it. So it started with hair. because I had long hair, so that was the first thing I could notice about myself. So I started with my hair, then my eyes, then my face, and then my body, and I was like, wait,
Hmm.
hold a minute, you're not that bad. And that's how it started. And now I do have days where I'm like, oh my god, why I cannot smile. I cannot smile in pictures. And
Hmm.
every time I get these comments like, why don't you smile? I'm like, I think I
Yeah.
have to work on that. So I still have a few days where I'm like, oh, I'm not good enough. And then I'm
Hmm.
like, listen, this is what you used to think about yourself back in school, and
Hmm.
you're way ahead of what you were and what you used to think back then. So think about the process
Hmm.
and just be happy with the process, because
Hmm.
it was difficult. It took me a lot of time to focus on myself and appreciate myself.
Yes.
And I think, yeah, that's what I've been doing now. So
Brilliant.
yeah.
My God, this is just one more very, very strong message from you for all the people who are here and onwards. Because one of the things which happens is that we just become invisible, our body becomes invisible. We start hating the vehicle of that abuse because
Mhm.
A, we're blaming ourselves, and then we say, oh my God, this body was responsible, and then there are multiple things. It's very complex. It's really complex. And as a child and you're growing up years, you're not really realizing what you're thinking and what's happening to you. You're just living day out a day, one day at a time, with all the peer pressure and everything that's happening around you, right?
Yeah.
And so you're not really got any tools to this, or and in all of this, the message that you've given is like so very strong, because one of the things that we do, and I'll tell you just very small sharing, one of the exercises that we do is we get girls and women and just girls, women, adolescents to come in and just look at themselves in the mirror. We put on some nice music and we just ask them to dance. Just look at yourself and move. Forget dance, just move. And believe me, Kripali, not many people move beyond their face. If you ask them later, what did you appreciate about yourself? They will not look at their body. They will just be limited to their face, if that, if they find anything from there. So this ability to accept your body and your face is widespread. This inability is like really there. And so just beginning to start there, whether it was with your hair and then move on for the rest of your body, or whether it was with the eyes and you're still working on your smile, that's good to know. But it really is a very, very strong message for all those who over here who might be hesitate
Yeah.
and just just literally slightly afraid to look beyond their face per
Yeah.
se. So from there to modeling,
Yes.
what a journey.
It's been a beautiful journey. Um, I am proud of myself. I can say that. I never tell that aloud, and I
Mhm.
never tell that to myself also. But then when it comes to speaking about my work and how from the starting till now I've come so far, I can just say that I'm proud of myself, because it was hard
Mm.
with all that thing going on in your mind. And obviously, when the whole body shaming happened back in school, the bullying, it just, it was like, I cannot. So schools are the second home, the second safe
Yeah,
space for children.
yeah, right,
And I didn't have that kind of an environment where I felt that I'm safe back in home. I was safe, but then
right,
it was still suffocating. I couldn't communicate properly with my family.
right,
And thinking that, okay, fine, I can get rid of my house for a few hours, and I could breathe. I could have fun. I could just laugh in school. And that didn't happen, because things just went bad for me, emotionally and mentally.
yeah,
So because of that, I mean, from the girl who wanted to talk to everyone, to socialize and just be there, talking, yapping, just like
mm.
saying random things, to a girl who just cannot be around even 3 people whom she doesn't know.
Yeah.
And it's still a struggle. I cannot, like, I'm a complete different person when it comes to me being with people who I'm really comfortable with, my friends, and then me
Mm-hmm.
being around people who I've just met or hardly know. I am completely different. It's just that anxiety kicks in. Like, what if they're thinking about me? If they're smiling or if they're looking at me, I'm like, what if they're talking about me? Because that's how
Mm-hmm.
I had I that's what I was going through back in school. Like, everyone would
Yes.
look at me and they would start laughing, and they would just start like just talking about me. I'm like, I I never did anything bad. I was
Yeah.
a good student, not
Mm.
academically, but then I was this good. I didn't get into much trouble, and but still I had to go through that. And every time I would walk inside my school, I would have my head down so that I don't look at
Yeah.
anyone.
Mm.
Every time I walk outside, I'm like, I have to rush, I have to rush. But then my mind is rushing, but then my body is so slow, it's not able to comprehend with my mind. So I'm just like
Yeah.
slowly walking, and then people are around me, they're looking at me, they're laughing at me, they're pointing at me, and I'm like, I cannot deal with this. And I still can't deal with large group of people, and especially when it comes to my work, my profession, I have to be around people,
Mm.
too many of them, new people, and it's very difficult.
Yes.
I i mean when I say something out of the blue, it's like I'm trying to have that conversation in my mind for a very long time. It's like, even if I have to say good morning, because even if I don't talk, I would want to greet them, because that's how I am. I would smile and I would greet them. I would ask them if they are okay. And just these three things, it starts off before I even leave from home. I'm like, okay, Kripali, you have to say this. Listen, don't screw it up. Simple English, you can go for it. And there have been so many times I have stumbled, I have stammered. I'm like, why can't I say good morning? Why is it so difficult? And
Mm.
that's when the anxiety kicks in. That's when you think that, why am I so useless in life? Can I not even have a normal conversation with someone? And it's just, it's, when I think about it, I laugh at myself. I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I like this? But then I can't help it. That's how messed up my teenage life was. That's how messed up all these years were, when I thought that, okay, fine, I mean, like, dude, I think from the age between 10 to 18, you get to discover so much about yourself. You
Yes.
get to explore so much about yourself. You have so many friends around you, because after 18, once you get into college, yes, you do have fun. Then you start working, and then things are not the same.
Yeah.
You would have those same friends, but then you wouldn't be able to have the same kind of connection with them like you had back in school. So I was very excited. I thought, okay, fine, I'm gonna have too many friends, and that didn't happen, because the friends I thought were my friends, they stopped talking to me because they started believing in all the rumors which were going around school. I was slut shamed a lot, because
Mm.
I come from Chennai. Chennai is a city where people are orthodox. They are very
Mm.
conservative, and I went to a school which was very, very extremely conservative,
Mm.
and the people around me were horrible. I am sorry to say this, but then they were horrible. The teachers were horrible. The students were horrible. And I was always comfortable around boys. I have
Mm.
more boy friends,
Mm.
guy friends, than
Mm.
girl friends.
Mm. Mm.
And then that's how the slut shaming happened. Like, oh,
Mm.
this girl is like, every day
Mm.
she's with a different guy. And
Mm.
I'm like, I'm just trying to have friends, because I'm not able to feel friendly at my own house. And that's how it's been difficult. That's how it was difficult. And it is still difficult. I cannot handle large crowds even now. But then I'm just trying to tell myself that it is not how it used to be back in school.
Mm.
It's all okay.
Mm.
New people, you know better. You can understand who they are.
Mm-hmm.
If you think you're getting good vibes from them, go ahead, talk. What what harm can it do? So the wise me, the wise Kripali is saying this. But then the Kripali who's still stuck inside me, who has gone through so much, she has a lot of trust issues. Oh my god. Yeah, a lot going on, and she's like, no, I can't. I just can't. I like let me just be here. Let me just like sit here. It's dark and I'm happy. I'm happy with the darkness. I don't want to go. Just don't force me to get out. And obviously, the one who is in the darkness, who has always been comfortable with that darkness, she wins all the time. And the wise Kripali is like, when are you gonna learn that it's okay to let some kind of light inside that room? You cannot be stuck in a dark room forever, no matter how comforting it has been for you for so many years. You need to get out
Yes.
of it. I think it's
Yes.
still gonna take time. I'm sorry, I've been talking a lot. It's just that
No, it's beautiful. Please
it's
carry on.
yeah, I think I've been able to, like, honestly, before this live, I was very nervous. I was shaking. I'm still shaking. But then the only thing which was in my mind was I went through this all these years. And there are so many people out there who are, I think, unfortunately, they are going through this. They went through this, and there are gonna be times where people are gonna go through this in future. We cannot stop it. I mean, no matter how much we try, we cannot like end things like this. So for them to know that they are not alone, for them to realize that, even if they are not able to be vocal about it with their family members, there are people out there like Sakshi, where you can go and you can approach them and you can be yourself, you can talk to them, you can just tell them what's been inside you for so long. Just let it out. Just open that door, the dark room, so that some amount of light through Sakshi enters that room and tries to save you from letting yourself die slowly. That slow death is the most horrible thing to ever happen to anyone. Nobody should go through that. I am still going through that. I know for a fact I'm still going through that. If I say that I'm out of that dark room, I'm sorry. I wouldn't lie over here because that's not the point here. I'm scared. I'm stuck in a dark room. I want some light to fall in, but then I am not ready for that light, even though I think I am. I'm not ready for that light, but I would want to be ready for that someday, any day. But I would wait for that. I would wait for that moment when I know I'm ready, and I would just open the whole door. Not just, I wouldn't want just one slight ray to get in. I just want the whole door open so that everywhere around me is sunlight and I'm able to breathe. I'm waiting for that day, and I'm so sure that there are so many people who are getting in there and who are trying to settle down in that dark space. So that's
Yes.
why I thought, listen, you have to go live. You have to talk about all these things because you're not alone, and there are so many people out there who just want that. They just want to know that they are not alone, because when you know that you're not alone, it just feels good. I'm sorry to say, yes, it feels good to know that someone else is also going through something which you have gone through. I know
Mm-hmm.
it's not the
Mm-hmm.
right thing to say, but then that's how we feel. We feel okay, we feel safe when we know that someone else is also there to understand what we have gone through, because they have gone through that or they are going through that.
So if
That's
I can
sad.
just say, because what you're probably trying to say is that just knowing that there is probably a community out there
Yeah,
where you can have solidarity, where you don't have to explain yourself, who would understand what your experience
exactly.
has been, or who would understand what your responses are right now in life. It just kind of creates a sense of comfort that
Yeah,
These are not those eyes in the school which are looking and judging and gossiping about you,
exactly.
but
Yeah,
there is a community and there's a possibility, and it's not because they've suffered but because they
mhm,
understand. So it can be a
yeah,
community of people who are survivors, there's some people who are still as victims, or
mhm,
people who are actually working with them, people who understand it, who just have information. And
yeah,
actually, what you're doing right now is creating that community. You are
mhm,
strengthening that community, Kripali, by speaking up and speaking out, because you are giving information. You're sharing your experience. You're being so honest about it, and you're actually making it visible that something like this has a huge impact, which lasts through a lifetime until and unless we take cognizance of it, until unless we start doing something about it. And I think the first step is just to start talking about it. So if I could just respond to one little thing that you said, that, something like this may not end ever. Yeah, that's a very real possibility. I mean, I am 55. You are, how old are you?
23.
23. So that's almost like 30 years between us. So it
Mhm,
happened with me, it's happened with you, and we don't want it to happen with, people going forward. So, what is it that we are doing right now is to actually start
yeah,
talking about it openly, like this, right? Talking amongst ourselves, talking amongst people who don't want to hear about it, and maybe we kind of create that light that you're talking about, that breathing, that gust of
yeah,
wind and air that you're talking about is really going to be this information that you're spreading everywhere, in families, with parents, with just communities, at schools, that people start thinking that this is not okay and we have to look out for children. And you are a strong voice to take that voice forward. In Sakshi, we call these voices Rakshans.
yes.
And in Rakshans, we mean Rakshans are those who are committed to preventing child sexual abuse, right?
Mhm,
So for me, I don't know whether you accept it or not, but for me, with everything that you've shared today, you are a very strong Rakshan for us.
thank you so much.
So no, thank you. I mean, it's. I just want to applaud you again and just say more power to your honesty, and for accepting that you still are trapped in a dark place, and you still have anxiety, and you still have those faces, and yet you are seeking that light, that breath of fresh air, that community of solidarity, of all of us coming together. Yes.
Mhm,
And it's
yeah,
possible, Kripali, it's possible. We can all come together, and we can actually make this a more lit up place for someone else, And these conversations are very, very valuable. Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, I can ask you a million other questions, but is there something that you would like to add to what I'm saying?
I would just want to say thank you for whatever you're doing, whatever Sakshi is doing, because that's what most of us need, most of the youngsters need. Because, like I said, not many people understand, not many can understand what they are going through, and it takes a lot of years to realize what you had been through when you were a kid, and it still takes time to understand and realize what's happening in and around you. Because even when we think that we are very attentive towards our surroundings, slightest thing, just, I mean, things like these happen right in front of you, and you wouldn't even know.
Yes.
So thank you for doing this for me, for us. I would just want to say thank you, because I've heard a lot about Sakshi, and when I got to know that Shreya is a part of Sakshi, I was so glad. I was so happy, because it's just so much positivity around you, and knowing that you are standing up for someone who is being suppressed by so many people around them who they think are their friends or their family, because it starts from family. You start
Yes.
learning how to communicate with someone, you start learning how to love, how to walk, how to talk, how to behave from your family. And when family becomes a threat, you wouldn't know what to do. You wouldn't know how to talk, how to love, how to behave, how to be yourself. And being an organization where you're able to make people learn about themselves, to love themselves, and to be there, be for themselves, and to come out stronger than they were, it's something which should be appreciated and should be taken care of. I think that's what I would want to say. Thank you. Just that. Thank
I'm still going to ask you to say a couple of more things, Kripali.
you.
I wanted to say something to probably all the adolescents or children who might be adolescents, let me say adolescents, who might be listening on to you. And I would like you to say something to all the adult community, the parents or anybody. What is it that you would like to say to these two groups of people, two communities?
Communication. I think that's that is so that is so important in our generation, a generation where we are always on our phones, looking at someone else's life, wanting to be in that life, wanting to have that life. I feel like communication can make or break a relationship.
Yes.
If you can't communicate with a person, how are you even gonna be able to survive? You think by food, water, and internet you're gonna survive and you're gonna be entertained for life? I'm sorry. Yes, these are basics. I mean, food and water, they are basics. Internet, yes, for entertainment. But if you cannot communicate, if you cannot create that bond with someone, anyone, be it your family or friends or any kind of relationship, if you cannot do that, things are not going to move forward. I
Mm.
wish I was able to communicate with my mom and dad when I was a kid, because now it's getting difficult to communicate with them. There are
Yes.
so many things. I am just lying down in my bed in the night and I keep thinking, why am I not able to talk to them freely? Why can I not speak to them? Just tell them how I feel, how much how much it's been painful, whether I'm happy or whether I'm sad. I'm just not able to tell them. That communication is lost. And I don't know, I want to gain back that communication with them, but then so many years of not being able to communicate with them, it's not easy. It's not easy for me to just wake up and just be like, okay, I'm gonna communicate with my dad. I'm gonna tell him whatever is bothering me, whatever has been bothering me all these years. I think I would be able to do that, but then if I call him, I would be like, hi, this is the conversation which I have with my dad, even now. Hi,
Mm.
are you
Mm.
okay? How's it
Mm.
going? Did you eat? Everything is fine? Okay, I'll talk to you later. That's it. I'm not able to move forward. I know, I understand that he's trying to have a
Mm.
conversation with me, trying to communicate, but then I'm just, I cannot, because I'm stuck there, because I've been okay, I've gotten comfortable with not being able to
Mm.
communicate, and that's okay with me, but then it's not okay, and I know that. So this is
Yes.
what I would want to tell everyone who's here: communicate. I know it might get difficult, but just just try to break that, because once you start communicating, you're gonna go on and on and on and on, just like how I've been going on and on and on and on, because all these things have been inside me for so long, and getting a platform where I can talk about it, and there are people, I can see so many people saying that yes, that's how they feel and they are agreeing to that. That just makes me feel like I am not alone. There are so many people who are just going through what I'm going through. And if they start communicating like how I am trying to start this journey of communication, it's just gonna be so much better for us. It's gonna be easier for us because we cannot read minds. And if we cannot do that, what else can we do? Is communicate. So that's what I
Absolutely.
would want to say.
Thank you so much, Kripali, because I would say the kindness and the compassion with which you define yourself, this independent, hardworking, bright young woman who defines herself with kindness and compassion, I think it's probably the next turning around in your life when you bring that into your dark room, the compassion into your own dark room, and your compassion into picking up that phone when you talk to your dad next, and just let that light up the conversation between you and see where it goes. Just see, one step at a time. No
One step.
burden, one day
Yes.
at a time, one step
One.
at a time. And like we
Absolutely.
say, one Rakshin at a time, one home at a time. Let's make homes a safe space. Thank you so much for joining us today, Kripali.
Thank
I'm
you so
I'm
much for.
really honored to have this conversation with you, and I think you have brought in a lot of clarity to many people who will go on to see this conversation with you, and make them realize that they are not the ones to be blamed, that it is not normal, and it's okay to be scared, and it does have an impact as you go along in life, and it's possible, it's really possible to talk about it and reach out to a community where you don't have to explain yourself.